Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for the post-match pint in association with Purity. Bit of a different setup today that there's four of us on the screen, one for every Southampton goal. Ty Bracey joining me, Neil from the Liverpool McGrath podcast, and Tails, our new presenter on the Villa View, is also joining us as well. I don't really know what I feel after that game, Neil. Neil, I'll come to you first. Just try and dissect it a little bit for me.
Yeah, I suppose really look 4-0 down. We were kind of wondering where the hell we were going. Two bad halves of football in a row, I think, is probably what I take away from the last two games, and two halves of football whereby teams have essentially just bypassed our midfield and tried to get runners past our midfield, tried to overload everybody to one side of the field, swap the play, and it was just all too easy. The perspective I take from it as well is that, look, of the four goals that we conceded today, three of them were absolute worldies. Like, those two free kicks were unbelievable. And like on other days, they don't go in. And then Ings scored a magic goal. And I know we gave away the ball in silly positions, and maybe we were a bit naive in overloading to one side of the field, following the ball and leaving other sides of the field free for the two other goals that we conceded from free kicks. But they were really, really well taken goals, and I suppose seeing the fight in the second half for me was a real positive with this. And I suppose you really just have to kind of look for those, because the first half was so one-way traffic, I think.
Yeah, Tails, obviously an unusual scenario for you to be watching the game on TV. I'm imagining you didn't like what you saw in the first half, but the green shoots of recovery in the second half, that is a positive to take away, isn't it?
Well, I echo Neil's point, really, that two slack halves of football, one against Leeds, one against Southampton, has lost us the games, really. Second half, I thought we were great. I thought we created chances, made their keeper make saves. But first off, we just gave ourselves too much to do. I think we gave away free. One thing I know for a fact, when you're setting up against Southampton, is the manager would have said, keep free kicks around the box to a minimum, because Ward-Prowse can do exactly what he can do, what he's done today. And we fell into the trap. We've given free kicks away. First goal we set up, we didn't man mark. We marked zonally, which, against was it Ben? I can't remember who scored the first goal, but
Vestergaard.
You've got to mark him man for man. You can't go zonal. And John McGinn ends up marking him, and he gets a virtually free header. And then, like you say, there's the two free kick goals. We give away free kicks. We don't pick up the midfield player around the box and give away a free kick. And that's what Ward-Prowse can do. And then you're 3-0 down, and it's a mountain to climb. So we just left ourselves too much to do.
Yeah, and Ty, I mean, the warning signs were there after 5 minutes when we went 1-0 down and VAR intervened. But what feels like a typical Villa way at times, we didn't really learn those lessons, did we, mate?
Definitely not, mate. I mean, things seemed a little bit wobbly from them, to be fair. I think we're a bit nervous after that, and VAR was on our side that time. But echoing what Tails said, with having McGinn, Mark Vestergaard, shouldn't have been a thing. The last free kick that Ward-Prowse scored, Mings should be jumping there, really, and I think that's not a goal. It's just the inconsistency, like the first four games, we've had 90 minutes of good football. And then, as Tails said again, a bad 45 minutes against Leeds and a bad 45 minutes against Southampton. So for it to finish 4-3 is unfortunate.
Always, Tails, you want a reaction when you've just got pummeled the game before. And is it a thing to have a hangover? Do you think that first half of football was a hangover from the second half at Leeds? Do you think that is a thing? Because you'll know, because you've been in the position probably.
Yeah, well, they'd have analysed the game against Leeds, and they'd have wanted to start well today. And that would have been the thing that would have been said first and foremost, is to start the game well. And we failed to do that, and for one reason or another. But you look at it, sometimes you can't play well all the time, but dead ball positions, that's what you don't want to concede goals from, because you can defend those. General play, you might not play well, but defending set pieces, you can do that even if you're not playing well. Do you know what I mean? So that'll be massively disappointing, I think, for Dean Smith, and I can bet you bottom dollar that he'll mention free kicks and set pieces when he talks about things after the game.
Because essentially, Neil, we went back to basics after the lockdown period, because we were conceding a lot from set pieces, we were conceding a lot of goals in general, but across the last 2 games, there has been signs of those old bad habits creeping in. And the 8-game unbeaten run, Neil, we didn't concede first. Suddenly, again, we've conceded first today, and we've gone on and conceded 2, 3, 4, just like we conceded 2 and 3 against Leeds. How worried are you about that?
I'm not really too worried. I think this team, even in the start of the season, we saw that this team has been set up to counter-attack. Even when the first time I was on with you guys after the Fulham game, we did a lot of counter-attacking in that game. We let them have the ball in with Kenny Tete down the right-hand side, and we let them attack us, and we picked them off on the break. In this particular game, though, and the last 2 games, we've been forced to basically take the play to the other team. That's probably the most worrying thing I find here, is that where was our plan B? And I think in the second half, we showed where our plan B was, because in the first half, what we saw was when we were forced to take the game to Southampton, even though they were piling forward every time they got the ball, people like John McGinn were pulled out of position. And what's happened since the breakdown really is that McGinn and Douglas Luiz have formed a nice little wall in front of Mings and Konza. But if we're trying to take the game to the other team, when we're counter-attacking, that's fine. When we're taking the game to the other team and we get pulled out of position there, it's quite obvious, I think, at times. But in the second half, we kind of went back to basics, as you say, and I saw John McGinn getting on the ball an awful lot more. He wasn't following around James Ward-Prowse as much as he was in the first half, and I think maybe that's the job he was given to do, and it kind of just pulled him out of position slightly. The goals that we got in the second half, we had to work very hard for, and Trezeguet popping up at the back post as well could have got at least one more goal from there. That diving header was fantastic, and his volleys were very good as well. But from the defensive point of view, I think that we saw a small bit more structure, especially in kind of the setup of the midfield and how it kind of helps Tyrone Mings and Konsa, because they want to play the ball, and they want to be in a position where they can win the ball and play it. And if those 2 guys are out of position in front of them, they don't have that outlet to let the ball off in front of them, and also they don't have that outlet to set themselves when teams are breaking at them at pace. So that was my view on it. I'd be interested to hear, maybe even Ian, I'd be interested to hear your view on it, considering that that would have been a position that you would have found yourself in before.
Well, myself and Dan have had countless conversations about people always tend to look at the defence and say, oh, we're not defending well, but it's what's in front of them as well. I think the trouble what we've had against Leeds and today is probably the midfield setup has not been quite right, and the protection in front of the back four has not been quite right. So, you look back now and you think we've scored 3 goals at home and we've still not won the game. So, defensively we've done something wrong, and ultimately, like I said, the first half performance wasn't great, but it set let us down at the end of the day. So we could have easily got something out of this game today, I thought, because I thought the second half performance was more encouraging, even though maybe Southampton have taken the foot off the pedal, because you do when you're 4-1 up or 4-0 up. So it's just disappointing the first half and the way we've let the goals in, because that protection in front of the back four, giving free kicks away when we know we shouldn't do that, that's let us down today, I think.
Yeah, and just building on that a little bit, Ty, I think I saw that Southampton's expected goals, I don't know how much you read into expected goals today, they were like 0.72 or something stupid, and then they've come away with 4 goals. So even, I know we've given away the free kicks and stuff, but they have just scored some absolute worldies. So it felt a little bit like the Leeds game was just an unfortunate bad day at the office. Bamford scored a couple of great goals there as well. But teams are scoring good goals against us, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ward-Prowse on the edge of the box against any teammates, it doesn't matter who's in goal and it doesn't matter who's in the wall. He's got that right foot of dreams. I don't think it would matter who was in front of him, but, the Matty Cash handball, I mean, in a way, I can kind of see why he's done it, because I think it would have been Walcott who would have been one-on-one. I assume that was, I don't know if he's done it on purpose or, he's seen himself, he's in a vulnerable position and thinks, okay, I'll take one for the team here and take a yellow. I'm unsure, but, when it was 4-1, I was feeling pretty down. When it was 4-0, I was feeling terrible. But what I took from it was, I mean, Trezeguet could have scored a hat-trick, mate. The keeper was outstanding. You could see it was frustrating him that he weren't, he found himself in the right place at the right time, and he's used to finishing in those positions, so to have 3 chances. The positives I've took from it is that we've still got 3 goals in us in a game, and that's important. It's just, is it the defensive side we need to tighten up on? Ings' goal was great, but it's all from set pieces, so I assume, it's something that we've got to be a lot more wary of, is the set piece side of things, most definitely.
And guys, I'd love to see the stats on how many saves Martinez has had to make today.
I was about to ask you that. He hasn't made any saves in the game, I don't think. Not one.
Their goalkeeper's made far more saves
absolutely
than ours has. So, I think going forward, we're not too bad, but it's just that concentration bit where we've let ourselves down today, I think.
I mean, the goalkeeper, to be fair, Martinez, I don't think he can do anything about any of the goals. I was obviously talking to you in the WhatsApp group, Taz, and maybe saying he was a bit far over the one side for the free kicks. Sometimes you just think, you know where Ward-Prowse is going to go. Should the goalkeeper just stand in the middle of his goal?
Oh, mate, Ward-Prowse has got it in his locker to put it either side.
Definitely.
And goalkeepers pretty much have to guess where he's going to go. So the sides he's gone today, Martinez would have thought, I want to be in a position where I can try and save it if he does go that side.
Yeah.
But he's still got to take care of his side where he's supposed to save it. Do you know what I mean? So it's tough for a goalkeeper when you've got the quality of Ward-Prowse up against you, because you just don't know which way he's going to go.
Yeah. I was even thinking for that second goal that he had, because it was right on the edge of the area, is there anything to be gained by having a line on the penalty area and having your wall? Because, why not drop 2 people back on the line? Why not drop 2 people back on the post as if it's a corner? One
thing I can add to that is Mr. Bosnich, when I used to play with him, we always used to have the debate of whether we should have a wall or not, because a lot of goalkeepers would back themselves to save a shot from 22, 25 yards. Do you know what I mean? Without a wall. So we always question whether a wall hinders a goalkeeper or actually helps them. So there is a debate about that.
Because obviously we've already conceded one set play at this point. We're 2-0 down. Ward-Prowse has just banged in a free kick. Another one on the edge, like Neil says. I'd have thought putting a man in the corner would have been sensible, because it would have completely eradicated him being able to go. I mean, he's put it right in the corner. He's hit the side net with it. It's a beautiful free kick. But just having that man on the line would have made him think about maybe going the other side where Martinez is standing. Are you surprised that after already conceding one, that they didn't try something different for the next one?
I don't know. Sometimes you just set things up in training, and they'd have practiced for that. So they'd have come to a decision: do you have a man on the line or not? And obviously they've gone for not having one on the line. But like you say, the second one, certainly, I think if you had a man on the line, they'd have just headed it away. But it's things that these are decisions you make, and sometimes they go through and sometimes they don't. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say a Ward-Prowse free kick essentially is a penalty for anyone else in that game. The way it's gone, let's just focus on Villa a little bit.
But Dan, the one that frustrates me the most is the first goal, because that sets the tone for the rest of the game. And we've set up stonily when somebody should have been picking up the big man. Do you know what I mean? So if I'd have been, if in my day, I'd hate to say my day, but one of us would have been picking him up for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing McGinn can do, is there? He is simply not going to win a header against that goal.
Grow a foot, maybe. Grow a foot, maybe.
Yeah, get a ladder. Yeah. It's difficult. I suppose you're right, Towers, because that going 1-0 down, it completely changes the game going behind. As we've seen, when Villa go ahead, we tend to win. If we go behind, we tend to go on to concede a few more. Neil, Villa had to adapt early on in the game as well, because Traore, who got the start over Trezeguet, ended up going off after about half an hour. Trezeguet actually is one of the ones who comes out with real credit for me for that game. I thought he was really good now.
Yeah, it was. I was actually looking forward to seeing the battle of the Bertrands down that right hand side, but it never really materialised because we didn't get a lot of ball down there when Bertrand was actually on there, when Traore was on there, and I'd love to know what happened, because it seemed really innocuous, and that's a bit worrying, because when you have a guy like that that's essentially being labelled as our auxiliary second striker in a pinch, and obviously an attacking flair player there, and he's gone out of the game on a non-contact injury, where you would be expecting we won't see him for a couple of weeks. But it was something that kind of like Trezeguet's work rate is fantastic. Bertrand Traore wasn't on long enough for me to make any sweeping statement about his work rate. I don't think he did anything wrong in the game as such. He certainly wasn't the reason that we were 3-0 down. But when Trezeguet came on, there's a lot of things in it. His familiarity with the system, his familiarity with playing up and down that wing with Matty Cash, probably just gave a little bit of a shot in the arm to Aston Villa, allowed them a small bit more stability, and players probably were a bit more comfortable playing it into him going forward, because they had played with him for majority of last season and the first five games of the season as well, so they knew what they were getting from Trezeguet, and it may have allowed a defensive restructure, a reshuffle from our internal midfield as well. So as I say, he comes out of the game with a lot of credit for me, and as Ty said earlier on, he could have had a hat-trick.
Yeah, because you really like Trezeguet, don't you, Ty? You got him on your back of your shirt last season, I think, if I'm correct in saying. But he gives us something different, because he popped up a few times at that back stick, and on another day he does score at least one goal, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think as Neil said, I think Traore is definitely, it's going to take him time to find his feet in the Prem. I know he's been there before, but time and football changes. Tails, correct me if I'm wrong, but how modern football is now versus to when you played. Everything feels. No, I know, but football feels a little bit different now, and there's a lot more, like winning free kicks and stuff like that. I feel like there's a lot more to football now, and I think Traore, it's going to take him some time to find his feet. And it's good that Trezeguet's got that competition, because he's come on and you can see that he's hungry for that right wing spot, and he wants to cement his place in the team. As Neil said again, he didn't do anything wrong, and he was fairly quiet over the right side. But I'm really happy with Trez's work rate at the minute, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, and Tails, the balance of the midfield was obviously a struggle for us at times. I thought Barkley and McGinn had off days, if I'm being perfectly honest. If you're Connor and Nakamba and you're sat on that bench and you're not getting a run out across the last two games, Connor's got a goal and assist, and then we've not seen him for 4 games. He hasn't had a minute. How frustrated would you be sat on the bench if that was you?
Yeah, you'd obviously be frustrated, because we're losing games and you're not in the team, you're not getting a shout. So you would be frustrated. I think it's obvious for everybody to see why John McGinn and Barkley play, because they've got that little bit more quality. But, when they're not quite doing it, for me, defensively, they're not doing it defensively, because I think going forward, we're okay. But
yeah.
Defensively, like I said, it's not just about the back four, it's about what's in front of them as well, and it's got to have the right balance. So, at the moment, but then I keep going back to the set pieces, and, is that the midfield's fault? I don't know. Because we're just giving free kicks away in the wrong areas, and that's cost us today. So, against Leeds, it was a different story, because I thought we just got overran midfield-wise as the game went on. Leeds just overpowered us in midfield, I thought. But it's just different games and different players up against you. It's just difficult sometimes, and I just thought defensively we were found a little bit wanting today.
Yeah, because observation I made in the first half, which is obviously where we've conceded the 2 free kicks. In the Leicester game, McGinn and Louise, it felt like they were sitting, Barkley playing as a number 10, same as the Liverpool game. The first half against Southampton, I was watching when we had the ball on the attack, and McGinn's in the box, Barkley's drifting around all over the place. Jack obviously likes to drift in from that left-hand side. Traore, he's a forward-thinking player. When the attack then didn't come off and they broke, part of the reason why I think we were giving away free kicks was because we just get swarmed, because defensively Luiz is having to get pulled out to try and cover things, and then Cash is left short because Traore's up the pitch. And I just sometimes think we'll be too gung-ho against a team like Southampton at the start of the game.
I don't know. Like I said earlier, I think they just probably wanted to start the game on the front foot and start the game well after the Leeds game. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
sometimes maybe you got to be a little bit more conservative and start the game a bit more solidly. But like I say, first goal is the one for me where, you know, if you're a little bit more solid, game goes on a little bit longer at 0-0, then and you're still in the game. So and we just made it harder for ourselves as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, Southampton are quite a unique team as well, aren't they, Neil? They obviously play the two up front, and then the two players who you would associate as being wide players actually kind of play infield a little bit and like number 10. So Southampton have got the back four and then two people that just purely sit in front of that back four. They don't make too many movements forward at all. So they're quite a unique team to play against, aren't they, Southampton?
Yeah, we've heard of the diamond midfield. They play the box midfield. It's literally it's a square in the middle of midfield, and Ralph Hasenhüttl, who not ironically, interestingly enough, should I say, I was speaking to a Southampton guy from a Southampton podcast, and he told me Hasenhüttl means rabbit hutch in German, by the way, just in case anybody wants.
I was waiting for your random fact of the day, Neil. It's not a show about your random fact of the day, mate. I'm glad you snuck that in.
Well, you know, we're in lockdown here in Ireland. You guys sound like you're going into lockdown. There could be a lot of Zoom quizzes going on. That could be a nice little quiz question for people over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Southampton are an unorthodox setup on any Saturday, regardless, and it's a case of, you know, he's had to rebuild that team up from a 9-0 loss, actually, which ironically enough was, I think it was this weekend last year, they lost 9-0 to Leicester. And then he's basically taken that team. And I think there was 9 of that team, or 8 of that team that started today, were on that team that lost 9-0 to Leicester. And we're on a very, very bad downward trajectory. And there was question marks over him. But he's a good manager. He's unorthodox. He sets things up differently. And he's definitely not a disciple of any of any other manager. You know, you hear a lot of people say that they would have focused on being like a Bielsa, or focused on being like a Guardiola, or like Johan Cruyff back in the day and stuff. But he's very much his own man with regards to his own stylistic styles of play, should I say? And you just see it in games like that. Someone like Stuart Armstrong has come down from Scotland, and he's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water when he got his chance, because he fits that system that Hasenhüttl has. And I always talk about systems because they're becoming super, super important with every passing week in professional football. And you see it, that systems are there, people can't figure them out, they bamboozle teams, and then people get used to them, and then you need to consistently be able to change up your system, and he can certainly do that.
Yeah, because actually, Charles, when you were playing, Villa were one of the few teams I remember playing 3 at the back in the Premier League. Not many teams were doing that at that point when Brian Little implemented that. Did you ever feel that gave you an advantage? Because everyone was 4-4-2 back then.
Yeah, for sure. Because you could outnumber so many midfields with 3 against 2 in the middle, and he always wanted to have 2 up front as well. One left-footed, one right-footed. And it worked for us because it worked with the personnel that we had. So, we could always, we had good wing backs as well who could get up and down, and it's something that we worked really, really hard on. But and we were good at it. But systems as it's always been a factor in football. It's not just a new thing. Do you know what I mean? Every manager had a different system and the way they wanted to play it. It's just having the right players to do it. So, and Southampton have used it well today. Were they a million times better than us today? I'm not so sure.
No.
That's the most frustrating thing about today is that I'd rather we had got beat 4-0 so we could.
I said that.
Absolutely hammer the team and say we were rubbish. But
yeah,
part of me saying that second half we were quite good, and we I'd love to. I've not seen the stats on the game yet, but I'd love to see them because I bet if you see the stats, you'll think, oh, bloody hell, they were 4-0 up Southampton. So
we had more shots than them. We had more chance creation than them.
19 shots to their 9, and they had 5 shots on target, I think. 4 shots on target, and all 4 of them were goals.
Martinez, I don't remember making a save in that game. He just put the ball out of the net 4 times. That's pretty much all he had to do in the whole game. So I think
it's really frustrating. So frustrating, and you just think just a little bit more in the first half, and we could have got something out of this game.
Yeah, we'll come on to the comeback now, but just a good point to remind everyone that this is the Purity post-match point. So in association with Purity House, so if you get yourself onto their website and use the code #VillaView, you'll be able to get yourself 10% off all their Villa and beer goodies that they have there. The lovely Villa Purity cans, and they've got some Villa glasses in there now as well, which are really, really nice. So yeah, go on their website, get yourself 10% off by using our code. So Tails, Villa, like you say, I said that to you. I'd have rather got battered. I feel almost more annoyed that we've ran them so close in the end. I remember having a similar feeling against Sheffield United, that game when it was 3-3, thinking, I feel like I'd have rather have just lost because they've annoyed me that they've only started to play with 10 minutes left. And it did seem to take going 4-1 down for us to get ourselves into gear. But we did well. It's good to see Watkins on a score sheet, albeit a penalty, because that's a slight concern that I have. Is in the last few games, probably last 3 games, there's not really been much service for him, has there, Tails?
No, I was hoping you'd say that, actually. I thought you were going to say, he's not got on the score sheet, but he's not had the service. We've not been making chances for him. So it's not like you can say Ollie Watkins has been missing loads of chances because he's had none. But, there was a little bit of a set to between them, and I thought Jack wanted to take the penalty at first.
Yeah, he picked the ball up.
Yeah, but he took it. It's a great penalty, and it's good to see him on the score sheet because he's in my fantasy league team as well.
And mine.
Me too. And he was my captain this week.
Oh, there we go. Some light relief there that we've all got Watkins in our fantasy team. What do you make of that? The lack of service type, because he's not like he's missing chances. He's literally, I don't remember him missing a chance across the games.
No, I agree with you, mate. And it was the same problem with Wesley last season. Everyone was really quick to criticise him, and the problem I found with him was that the service. He's always in the right place at the right time, but Southampton weren't bad defensively, really. They defended really well, and they kept Watkins under wraps. But, the balls that were floating in were either going to Trez on the back post, or the keeper was coming for them, or they got Vestergaard there, So we had a lot of balls going in over the top, and, Watkins isn't the biggest striker in the world. And when you got units like that in defence, it's always hard to get goals from balls over the top when you've got a striker who isn't, the size of Vestergaard. But yeah, I think Jack's done that for his confidence as well, really, because it did look like Jack was the commentator on the game I was watching. I think he had said that Jack had gone to take it and then give it to Watkins, which would be great for his confidence, get on the score sheet, But I have no doubts that he's gonna turn out to be an incredible signing, mate. If I'm honest.
Yeah, because Neil, if you were to put a negative hat on, which I don't like to do, obviously you're sat there with your hat and your Chris Kamara headphones on there, but he's only before today. He'd only actually scored in 1 game, so he's obviously got four goals now, but he's only scored across 2 games. How much do you read into that?
I don't read much into that. When a striker plays up top on his own, you put an awful lot of faith into a striker, I think. You put an awful lot of faith into the fact that he's going to have good days, he's going to have bad days, he's going to have lean spells, he's going to have spells when he comes on form. There's only very few strikers who can actually do it to a level whereby they reach 20, 30 goals. Like, you look at Drogba, he played up front in his own, Harry Kane, with the greatest amount of respect, Ollie Watkins, he isn't anywhere near those 2 guys just yet, and he's going to have to find his feet. It's only his first year playing up front in the Premier League, 2nd year overall. I'm very happy with him. His movement is brilliant. Yeah. His movement is really, really good. I'm looking at a map here of where the players actually were during the game, and it's actually really interesting that himself and Ross Barkley almost seemed to be too close from where the players were mapped together. And that's a really interesting one for me because I would not have said that from watching that game. So it just kind of goes to show whereby stats and analytics from the game can kind of maybe show you something that like they're really stood on top of each other for a lot of the game, and whether that was an idea, whether they broke to the left or to the right, and that could be a counter-attacking piece, I don't know. But Ollie Watkins himself, I think he'll come on. I actually did cry out at half time that maybe we get a Keenan Davis up front with him. Let's see a little bit of a little enlarge, and let's try and show the league something different from Aston Villa, because we've stuck with our style of play almost since July of last year, since we came roared back into the league last year and ended up staying up. We've stayed with more or less the same tactical setup, and I was thinking maybe it might be time to shake it up. Maybe it might be time for future games to come. Okay, we're not going to win this game. Show the league something, and get them thinking that maybe the next time the team plays us, that are they going to go with 2 up front? Are they just going to go with the same 11 again? But Ollie Watkins, I've no fear of him. I think he can play up front on his own, and he gives us that option that if we do want to put a striker up with him, he's going to know how to play with them, because essentially he's a winger in a striker's body as it stands right now.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. And Tails, actually, the next game, I think, might suit Villa a little bit to go away from home and play against a team like Arsenal. And that could be a game on the counter-attack where Watkins comes to the fore again.
Yeah, and we've done well at Arsenal down the years, haven't we? So, yeah, hopefully we can go there. Again, it's going to be a totally different game from the Leeds game and today. So you have to try and adapt to each game that comes along. They're just so different, and it's always difficult to go to Arsenal, but I'm sure that we're capable of getting 3 points there.
Yeah, but do you echo that, Todd? Do you feel good still going into that game?
Yeah, I do, to be fair, mate. Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of pressure off when you're playing one of the bigger clubs, because I think a lot of people don't expect you to get anything, and we did it at the end of last season. We did it against them then, mate. There's, and Dean Smith's openly come out and said that he doesn't go into any game with the mentality other than 3 points, that he wants a win, so if that's instilled into the team, mate, I don't think it's impossible for us to get at least a point from Arsenal, mate. No way.
And Tails, are you going to pass a fitness test and be allowed to go to that game next week, or will you still be in quarantine?
I'll be all right, mate. I'll be all right.
You're feeling okay? People will be, because some people will be surprised to see you sat here in your office after the game. Obviously, you're at every single game.
People think I actually had COVID.
I don't know what they think. I'm giving you a chance to quash the rumour.
Mate, one of my mates I was in the pub with last week ended up getting COVID. So obviously, because track and trace, I was with him. I have to quarantine. So, but I'm fine. I'm fine.
We're all glad that you're fine, and
good to know, man.
We thank you for joining us on the post-match pint, and I thank Ty and Neil for joining us as well. It's been it's always quite therapeutic to come straight on and talk after the game, because you're texting your mates and you're getting all kinds of different opinions of what people think. Some people still sit at a reasonable level, and then I've got other mates that are just down on the floor about Villa when they lose again. So it's good to come on and get a sense of perspective. I hope the Villa View subscribers that are watching have enjoyed the show as well. Myself and Dolan will be back for a Luke Live Lounge next week, and then obviously we'll have the Purity post-match pint after the Arsenal game as well. I'm going to be honest, I can't even remember what day the Arsenal game is at this point. I think it's a week today, around 7 o'clock. The fixtures have completely got away from Sunday night. Yeah, okay, good. I've got there in the end. So yeah, disappointing for Villa to lose again, but hopefully next post-match point we'll be talking about Villa bouncing back and getting something at the Emirates, because as Tails say, we have done half decent there over the years. In the current climate, we hope that everyone stays safe. Everyone can still enjoy supporting the Villa. Only one thing left to say: up the Villa.
Up the Villa.